All right, everybody, welcome back to the channel. It's Robin Smirky Gun Reviews, and we're back with more South Park. We're doing season 22, episode 2. It's called The Boy and the Priest. So full spoilers if you haven't seen the episode. This show is, I wish I had started reviewing this show back in like a long time ago, because it would have been maybe easier for me to review once you get into a flow of this show. But now it's after last week and all the negative comments about me it's sounding like people thinking I'm taking a stand on gun control laws, like woof. Not only is that hard, but then you jump into the Catholic priest scandal again, and it's very hard to try to review this without pissing people off in some way, because this is a dark subject and they don't handle it very subtly. I have read a couple of articles on this where people are trying to say that this is also about the Kavanaugh thing and police shootings, cover-ups. I don't think it's all about that. I don't think Trey and Matt Parker are that subtle to like slide in little things. I think if they're going to do, maybe it's there a little bit, but I think that's people just wanting to mostly say that it is so that they can just have that out there, like, yeah, but I think if they were going to do a Kavanaugh episode, they'll do a Kavanaugh episode. If they're going to do a police shootings one, they'll do a police shootings one. But this episode, where we go to where people just go to church to laugh at the priest, make jokes at his expense, I do think that that's a pretty interesting thing, because you think that they're going to church they always feel better, and it's really just that they feel better by mocking the priest, and it makes them feel better about their own lives, because once the church closes and he says no more of this, they start to question the meanings of their lives. So it seems like the only meaning they find in life is feeling superior over the Catholic Church, which is funny, because in this case, we really should feel superior, as most people should. If a bunch of priests, I don't understand why a religion is allowed to govern itself from the people, from the justice of the people when crimes are committed, and they're able to just, transfer churches. And I know that's not 100% the way it is. So I don't want, I'm sure there's somebody out there watching that's like, oh, you just said the thing that's going to trigger me, and I'm going to comment the hell out of this and tell you that priests do go to jail and things like that, It's a TV show. Calm down. And I'm just commenting on what I think this show is trying to say. I'm not trying to, I don't know. Last week's comments really kind of shook me a little bit, just because it's just like, Jesus Christ, man. It's a cartoon show that's making a little social commentary. I'm not trying to take away your guns. So in this, though, it makes sense that they use Butters, who's the innocent character on the show, as like the person who tries to befriend the priest and tell him, hey, it's okay. But in the end, what this is like Priest Maxie feels like he deserves it, because he knew about all this stuff, and now what he learns at the end, by going back and taking the mocking, is that he kind of deserves it. That by doing nothing, and now everybody's laughing at you and nobody takes you seriously, you have to take yourself. You can take yourself seriously, but you got to know that people aren't just gonna come back and forgive you like they want. Like the church wants everybody to just forget about this and just go back to the way things are, because that just lets them out the hook. And that's kind of what I feel is like a little bit, is that we get these things that pop up, like sexual harassment or police shootings or school shootings, or these, the priests touching kids, is that we get all hot and bothered for it for a while, and then eventually it just goes to the back while we worry about the next thing. And then eventually that gets pushed away, and the problem doesn't go away. We just have a new problem, and we don't really finish the job. And that's why, I feel like it's pretty easy to finish the job with the Catholic priest thing. You take away the power from the fucking church. Don't let them deal with this. let the courts deal with this, because even though our justice system is not perfect, it's way better than letting these perverts govern themselves. So, and the whole over-exaggerated kind of Catholic priest going around trying to clean up the cum from the trend and transferred priests out still thing, and with the cumboni and the cumby. Now, while those things are funny, because it's like, oh my God, like the cumby was pretty funny, but like it's so gross. And it's one of those things that like where it kind of almost takes me out of it, where it's just a little too much, because the subject matter is just very hard to ride that line of social commentary and humor. That's why, the jokes that they're telling, the thing, like at church, and the running gag of all the adults just having all these pedophile jokes. The only thing that I would say about this that has anything to do with the topic other than this topic, like instead of saying it's about Kavanaugh, is it made me think of James Gunn and his tweets and how he lost his job for something he said like 10 years ago, and how these people are just saying all these jokes with, reckless abandon, and nobody says anything. They all think it's hilarious. But then somebody says something 10 years ago that's, and then loses their job over saying something like that, where nobody finds it funny. Like, this is in poor taste. And maybe it is. But I mean, if we all were held accountable for the things that we say, and just because somebody's famous and they, doesn't mean that he should be held to a higher standard than we are. How many times have we said something that we should be in trouble for? And that's just a little thing. I'm not advocating that James Gunn should be like rehired or whatever. I don't have a a dog in that hunt. I'm just saying that it seems kind of double standardy. But the whole thing, the fact that Priest Maxey does come to like the realization that, he's still responsible. He may not have like touched a kid, and he went to the Vatican, but it wasn't enough. And now he, in the end, he just decides that his penance is to be mocked in church. His penance is to take it, because he can, because nobody else seems to be able to. And he may have saved the kids from these, messed up priests, but it doesn't change the fact that he still knew about all this stuff. Everything else in this, the creepy scene with Faith, where they're singing Faith in Christ, and it's just a montage of him and Butters, is still like, it's innocent, but like anybody else looking from the outside would go, oh my fucking God, that kid and that priest. So anyway, that's all I'm going to say about this episode, because I already can just see the negative comments in my for this. It's such a hard episode to review without, if I just like go beat by beat and just recap the episode, that's one thing, but it's South Park, you kind of have to talk about it, right? So anyway, I'm not even going to say like or subscribe. This is Robin Smirking Gun Review saying, I hope next week we can just maybe next week's will be a little easier to review. I don't know. It's hard to talk about this one. So anyway, we'll see you on the next video. Bye.